poppin', everybody? Super Saiyan Santi. Got my man OG_Frank with me. OG wanted to talk about this topic here. You've seen this in real time.
Yeah, I have.
Corey Holcomb versus Anton Daniels.
Oh, yeah, Anton, yeah. I'm on Corey's side.
Okay.
I mean, he was totally disrespectful to Corey.
Mm-hmm.
I take Corey's side 100% because he seemed like he was, they call it baiting him into a fight or argument. I think he was doing it just to get numbers.
I mean, I don't blame them for getting numbers. The YouTube game is to run up the views, the numbers, and all that, to be able to provide for you and yours. And if you're a content creator, some content creators will use negative
methods
to run it up. And I don't blame them. I'm not saying that's something that I will do or will like to do, but I understand that works. You feel me?
I feel naturally, if the way he acted, if he felt that way about him, he should have never went on his podcast.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I was like,
dude, if you felt like you had to be that disrespectful and you don't like him and you want to get it straight, to prove a point, you could have did that on your own platform.
Yeah,
but to go to his podcast, that's like going to his house and being that disrespectful, warranted AW ass whooping.
They're both content creators at the end of the day. They're both getting paid from YouTube from the numbers that they receive. And they knew that it was going to be entertaining for the algorithm to both be there.
Antoine knew that he was going to...
Corey knew too.
You think Corey knew he was going to have that attitude?
Not the attitude, but he knew that Anton, I don't know if he knows he's going to have that attitude, but Anton doesn't come across like somebody that's not afraid to have an attitude with someone if he had one. Not meaning that he's going in to have an attitude with you, but if you and him butt heads, I don't see him turning away from.
So you feel like they really didn't know each other?
I don't think they did enough research on one another.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
For me, that's my opinion.
That's what I'm hearing. And I feel that, like, if you see it played out, that he was very disrespectful. He said some, as men, when you say a certain thing of disrespect a certain way in person and you cross the line, that has to be addressed.
Yeah, I feel like they both did. To be honest with you, Corey said something and Anton said something that, with both of them saying, they kissed the butt of white, and then he sucks the penises of all black.
I thought Antoine did it first.
They both did, to me, my opinion. It didn't need to be said. But they both didn't, like you said, they both didn't do the proper research on one another.
I just felt like should have had more respect toward Corey in that. I just felt he was very homophobic in the things he was saying to him. Because you're not going to tell a man you suck dick and expect him to be like, wait, what'd you say?
Not on the YouTube. And you're a content creator that should know better. You know what I'm saying? That's something you can't say.
Yeah, like, I shitted on you because, like, wait, what? So everything had like a innuendo. I just felt like if they weren't online, he wouldn't have said that. And if they weren't online and he said that, it would have went a lot quicker than it did.
You know me, I'm going to take devil's advocate to a lot. They didn't do the research
on each other,
and they both went off topic negatively because I felt like they both knew this is my opportunity to make it happen. I don't like how this is playing out because I wish we would have actually gotten a good conversation from them on how they're succeeding on social media with the use of YouTube primarily.
Well, you know what? When you see two characters act as, I would say, childish and disrespectful as they did, you would think that they weren't two intellectual people who knew how to make a lot of money off content online. So, yeah, you're right. They should have been talking about or giving their audience more insight on how to be successful than the little petty in your way. Because it didn't the argument really didn't have anything to do with anything but masculine, testosteronic, opinionated argument on what somebody said or what you thought he said or which really meant nothing in the full scheme of things. So, yeah, you are right. Wish they'd have focused on educating their brand than putting out that ignorant example of toxic masculinity is what they call it.
Yeah, it was crazy, you know. Then Corey recently, after all of this, started attacking his family and his wife, you know. And I wonder, you know, is there a thin line? Where is the line where it gets drawn of you being a comedian? I get you're a comedian, you can do and say all that you like. Is there a line that can be drawn when it comes to going after the innocent people? You know what I mean, the family.
Okay, this is what I feel about that. There are rules, unwritten rules of respect and disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
But when you feel that you want to expose the other person for who they really are,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes those rules are thrown out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that I don't agree with talking about anyone's kids because the kids shouldn't come into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like he mentioned that his wife was unattractive and things like that. I think that's fair game. It is what it is.
The wife. Okay, I get the wife.
You know,
I can
yeah.
understand
You don't
adults,
bring the kids in it.
but then the children, you know,
You know,
and once again, with all that being said, I'm gonna let you know I'm a Corey Holcomb fan.
I'm a Corey Holcomb fan.
There's a few things that recently that's been going on that he's been saying that I'm just like, okay, I can't stand with all that you say, and wasn't going to do that in the first place. But you know, I'm a fan of what your prior work before we got here. I'm a fan of that work you were doing.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what's disappointing about being a fan because people tend to type you into whatever he says you agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe 80% of what he says you can identify with. But it's those that other 20%, and you're like, whoa, I draw the line at that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I agree. I think he said some things he shouldn't have said, but he's human.
Mm-hmm. So when you look back at how this situation began, what do you feel was really at the root of the conflict?
I feel that as I did my research, because I did my research
on this. Okay,
on
please.
this.
Okay.
It really didn't have to do with them two disagreeing with whatever he said, Corey said that he felt like he was being fake.
Mm-hmm.
It had to do with the young lady that Antoine was with.
Mm.
And Corey Holcomb knowing that wasn't his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And when he brought the young lady there, he didn't introduce the reason why she was there or who she was. And Corey felt some kind of way, like he was trying to promote the young lady without giving him a heads up. And he knew it wasn't his wife. So I think that's where the whole underlying belly of the anger was between the two of them.
Oh, this is the young lady here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Damn,
okay.
That's her?
Okay.
What's her name?
Mika.
Yeah.
So you're saying due to him not knowing who this young lady was. Oh, no. She's an attractive young lady.
No, during the fact that Antoine tried to bring her on his show.
But was that so surprising to Corey that he would want to bring his co-host onto the show with him?
Well, she wasn't really his co-host.
I thought she was a co-host on.
No, she started working with him, but she wasn't known as his co-host.
I want to say, you know, I watched some Anton Daniel. I'm not all into it.
No. I know she was on the show, and
someone I know that watches a lot of Anton Daniel told me that she's on a lot of episodes of his show.
This is after he contacted her because he got such a large comments from his following of you should put her on the show, that he flew her out to start doing shows with her.
Okay.
Right? But when he brought her to Corey, as I heard, if you do your research, he didn't give Corey the heads up that he was bringing her there. And Corey didn't know about him and her, and, you know, she's being more of a thing. So when she went to the show, the producer of the show asked Antoine, he was like, yeah, I want to bring her on the show. And the producer asked him, does Corey know about her? And that's where the problem lied, because he didn't mention it to Corey. So he was like, well, Corey doesn't know, because Corey has a strong presence on who he wants on his show. So you can't just bring somebody like, yo, I brought somebody on the show.
I can get that. So you say that caused the tension in the room.
Yeah, because he didn't introduce her, who she was. Corey didn't know who she was. And he felt some kind of way about him trying to bring somebody to promote that person without getting his permission.
You know, would that bother me? And I'm a podcast producer. I can say that would probably bother me as well. I can see where that could bother me.
Yeah.
Because it's extra work, to be honest. Just throwing another seat, You know, I didn't plan for another chair. I didn't have cameras set for that. So I will give the benefit of the doubt on that opinion and go, that maybe I can see where that could be the case, where it could cause tension, because now it's like, hold on. And you don't also want to tell your guests no too, because you want it to have a flowing conversation. So you don't want to go into me interviewing you with you having a no from me.
I got a word.
Yeah, go with the word.
That would be a presidium.
Ooh, presidium.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Presidium.
Because that would be a present influence in the middle of the conversation that I didn't know about this. That would be a presidium.
Okay. Yeah. I don't understand what that means, but okay.
Dude, that it clearly explains the present situation that I didn't know about this. So why you bring it? What the hell is this?
Yeah.
So the presidium decided to influence the attitude towards both of them.
I can see that.
I don't even know if they know.
I can see.
Maybe if they watch this, she is gorgeous.
So this is the young lady he's speaking of.
Yeah, she is gorgeous.
That's the young lady he's speaking of that was sitting there. And you said that recently she's
see the pictures they posted. There's an interview with her and a young man, and the young man completely dismantles her theory of the way she painted the picture. She was like Leonardo da Vinci, and I don't know if you're familiar with Picasso.
Yeah. He
Picassoed the photo. And you know, Picasso got an ear over here, a nose right here, ass right here.
Why you do that for?
Because he knew she wasn't being honest about the relationship.
He just assumed that, or you?
No, if you watch the interview with Mimi, and she did an interview about Antoine Daniels, and he asked, I don't know why she would ask him to do the interview, but if people do the research and watch the interview, I mean, he was like the wrong person to ask to do an interview of you if you didn't want the truth to come out. Have you watched him previous to this? No, but he was brilliant in the questions that he asked her about how they met.
But that was your first time ever watching this gentleman.
This gentleman is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very good. How they met.
You don't think she was prepared for this? Then?
She was not.
Jesus.
Because his answers were unpreparable.
So she was not prepared for that interview?
No. The way he asked questions, seducified.
Seducified.
Yeah, they seducified her answers to her because it seduced believing or not believing what she said so clearly that it identified with the truth. It seducified it.
Hilarious. Man, so this whole Corey Holcomb, Anton Daniels beef grew into something even bigger.
It was bigger.
It keeps growing bigger and bigger.
Like I said, seducified, SEDUCIFIED.
Why do you think it's growing so big? Because even Corey's getting in trouble. All of a sudden now Corey has a video of him snuffing a young lady outside of a nightclub. That's been messing up his money because he's talking about that on his podcast, how that's fudging up his money. Anton now has this young lady interviewing, and now allegations are coming up.
But in the long run, everything has the Nagla side towards Corey.
So everything has now, what does that mean going towards
the Nagla side? It's like everything was going up. It was an uproar.
For Corey.
Right? But between everybody.
For everybody. Both parties.
But then it hit a diagonal that made it all positive for Corey. Because
you think this is being positive for Corey now?
Yes.
Because I thought Corey was actually going towards more than negative.
Well, they put out some negative stuff about him to make him look bad. Maybe Antoine had some influence to do that. Whether he did or didn't.
Allegedly.
What the young lady said and her interview made it clear that she had more of an intimate relationship with Antoine. Y'all do the research. She had a more intimate relationship with him than beknownst, and I didn't create that word, to the majority. So now you look at her interview like, nah, we wasn't this, and now we don't have a relationship or a business thing at all. Let you know because of that situation, for some reason they parted ways, and it had nothing to do with Corey. It had to do with the implicit diversity of them being outed as business people,
and that
entities, or a relationship. So ever since then,
Yeah.
they had to split because it didn't look right. And she didn't want people
She's
to
not
know.
on the show anymore? She's because of it?
She's not with him anymore. They no longer do business together. And it's
What?
because,
From just that?
I think he hit it.
From just that?
And I can't blame him. Antoine, if you hit it,
You're hilarious.
can't nobody blame you for hitting it. That's her fault.
From just that has now caused them to, from the belief, because we don't know if any of that's true.
Okay, I forgot to say this word. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Huh. This thing grew crazy. This thing is going crazy, man. Corey is now, he was crying about like a lot of shows dropping him. Losing a lot of money. You think he's bouncing back from this?
Well, Corey is not a Hollywood controlled person. He has his own following of people. And regardless if he's right or wrong, or if he's foul or not foul, because he makes abortion jokes and
he does
all sorts of mixed dark comedy jokes, that the people that like him.
Yeah.
And he may lose a few jobs here or there, but even this will go away.
Yeah.
May take a year, it may take 6 weeks, it may take 2 or 3 months, but it'll go away and he'll be okay. Because nobody's thinking about this when you got everything that's going on. The guy from the hospital show, he passed. Jesse Jackson passed. Trump is always doing something crazy, so after a while, it'll go back to normal. And if he does a show in D.C., you think people not going to go to his show because of what happened? They don't care about that. Nobody's that emphatic. Okay, that's not my word either.
No,
nobody's not that emphatic about who they patronize, especially when it's comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
They were trying to cancel him for saying the transgender stuff, and a lot of people were offended by it. But if not more people were in agreement with what David said.
Well, just intrigued with someone that could be that bold. That may bring you to a show, because you don't know what's going to happen, and that's
know what, you're penalized from having real thoughts in this day and age. So if you have real thoughts, you're going to be penalized.
Man, this is crazy. So what else did you know about it? Because you told me about the Mika situation.
Yeah, the Mika exploits her.
But what does that have to do with Corey and Anton?
Because the whole disagreement was not just about what it was. The escalation of the argument had to do with him not introducing the young lady. And then once he started going in on Corey's character, Corey holding that against him because he was saying things about, when you come and you don't introduce, he said it in the whole scheme of things. So that's what escalated it. And Antoine know that him and this lady had done podcasts together. This lady's married. He's married. But the interview of the young lady with the man who interviewed her shows that she lied about the situation. So it's like it was a lot deeper than, forget you. It was like, no, forget you. And then they started fighting. Like, why did they fight? It's like, he said, forget you. He said, that's what we saw. But it was an underlying belly of concern between the two before the argument got. That's what I have to say. Allegedly.
Well, man, this is deep, man, because now both you question it. Do they have dirt on one another? And now they're just slanging dirt that they know from one another, and now they're having to combat it. But at the end of the day, they are both still relevant. Rogue will say this is planned.
Corey has a bigger following than he does.
Actually, I believe I think it's. I'll tell you the truth.
Okay. Had you ever heard of Antoine before, Corey?
I have, actually.
Okay, I haven't.
Somebody put me on to Anton Daniels. One of my boys put me on.
So I'm going to say that Corey's a comedian, so he does shows. He's been in a few movies, so I'm pretty sure his following. Corey said he met Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy knew who he was.
In this world that we're in now, in YouTube world, that doesn't matter anymore.
But
Anton has 1.28 million subscribers.
How many subscribers does Corey have?
I'm gonna tell you right now. Anton has 1.
I know it's more than Antoine. Or I'm sorry.
I think it's less than Anton, but I'll tell you right now. Corey Holcomb has 480,000.
Is that it?
That's it. Anton has more subscribers. Yes,
Well, I think Antoine's a better content creator than Corey.
he is. He is.
But
That's for
Corey
sure.
should be more. I think Corey's more popular than Antoine, only because he's done Think Like a
But the
Man.
numbers don't show. Those days of media, mass marketed Hollywood entertainers
Okay,
is losing to the day
let
of
me
the
let me
new
just throw this out
YouTuber.
there. Country Wayne
Hmm.
probably has more subscribers than Eddie Murphy.
Maybe, maybe not, depending on the platform.
Because
I think Eddie Murphy's one of those guys that kind of not unfortunately, but just to your point, he's such a big name. I would say maybe not on that one. Maybe YouTube, but not on like Instagram.
okay, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay.
So it was like Antoine maybe have more subscribers, but I think Corey Holcomb is more known. I never knew Antoine's name before he was on Corey Holcomb.
You know, YouTube is a different beast. It's not Hollywood that we're used to. It's not that same Hollywood persona. So I get it. You know, so not everybody from YouTube watch. You know, Corey,
Okay.
like you said, he has Hollywood on
So-
with his backing.
On the Wideology,
Okay, why do you have to bro?
okay, you know what Wideology means, right?
Not talking why do you
So the Wideology is on the bigger scope, on the wider scope of the theory of them. Two black men should not be arguing about this petty type stuff.
That's what I felt like at the end of the day.
I was like, come on, man. Is that what two prominent black men making money off social media? Is that what they doing?
They shouldn't be doing.
Like they couldn't have been like, yo, man, hold up, let me cut this.
They shouldn't.
Look, man, hey, look, if we got a problem, we can discuss that personally, but
Yeah.
online,
Yeah.
if millions of people are watching us,
Yeah.
come on, man. We're not trying to represent like this as black men.
Yeah.
White guys wouldn't have done that. They'd have been like, cut. Look, dude, we need to go in the back and talk. So we need to have more of a platform that shows the youth of tomorrow that we all ain't petty as crap like that, right? That was the ideology of the purposes of what I thought about the argument.
Oh
Right.
my goodness gracious!
Come on, bro.
Oh my goodness!
Y'all
gracious.
got really do this? Come on, Corey. I want to go on Corey Holcomb's podcast. I would love to talk
You
to
told me
Corey.
that all the time.
I want to talk to him off air so we can just say what we mean because I know
Mhm.
I got some wild thoughts. He got some wild thoughts. You know, we could just talk. I don't even care about people seeing me on this podcast.
Mhm.
I would just like to talk. So it's like if I talk to Corey, I know I'm talking to somebody that's really talking from the mentality of
Mhm.
how they grew up. So I would love to talk to Corey, man on man. Don't even have to be online. It could be for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, you know, from the fact that they went through all this, I hope that we get content where they do get to sit down and maybe hash it out, or if they, you know, or cut off the camera and then just go black and do whatever you need to do.
I think that's what they should do because the youth of tomorrow needs to see
Yeah.
an example of two people who don't agree with each other
Mhm.
being able to converse
Mhm.
and still get along and move on without all the idiocracies,
You're right,
you know,
man. You're right.
and verbal abuse. Come on, man. What you teaching them?
Thank you, everybody. To like, comment, subscribe, that tune into the channel. Me and my boy OG. We talked about this Corey Holcomb situation. Or you can get that everything off your chest about the Corey Holcomb. Then that's the sign of he got it all
Yoga.
off his chest. Yeah.